What does a person have to do to obtain a visa? This is a simple question and is essentially what this course is all about. How to obtain a visa. Essentially, to obtain a visa, three broad requirements have to be met. The applicant has to meet specific program requirements, has to be medically cleared, and has to meet the character requirements. These three requirements may make the answer to our question look simple, but in reality, given the complexity of the law, meeting the eligibility requirements of a visa can be quite involved. These broad requirements are important to remember as they capture the essence of the requirements that have to be met before a visa can be granted. To meet the program's specific requirements, the applicant has to meet the legislative requirements. This can be complying with legal definitions or having a sponsor. But always it will be meeting the Schedule 1 and 2 requirements of the regulations. You will usually find legal definitions, if they exist, in the early provisions of the Act or regulations, but they can sometimes be found in other areas of the legislation, such as at the top of Schedule 2. These definitions are important as they constitute the legal requirements of what each term means. For each visa subclass, there are also other legislative requirements which have to be met, such as Schedules 1 and 2 of the regulations. There will also be other requirements stipulated in Schedule 2. Let's now take a closer look at Schedule 1, then Schedule 2. The requirements listed in Schedule 1 constitute what Section 46 of the Migration Act regards as a valid application. For an application to be valid, an applicant must comply with what is stipulated in Schedule 1, namely, using the correct application form, paying the right visa application charge, and lodging the application in the manner stipulated. For example, if Schedule 1 states that an application has to be lodged online, such as in a skill or employer-sponsored visa, then the application must be lodged online as stated. Sometimes, such as in partner visas, the application can be lodged online or by post, or in person at an immigration office. Schedule 2 is important as it constitutes the nuts and bolts of what is required. Essentially, Schedule 2 states the eligibility requirements for having the visa granted. It will also refer you to other schedules of the regulation, most notably the public interest criteria found in Schedule 4, or the visa conditions, mandatory or discretionary, that are stipulated in Schedule 8. Or for applicants who are applying onshore and are not on substantive visas, they will have to meet the provisions listed in Schedule 3. Or for those applicants who were removed or deported from Australia or had held a foreign affairs student visa, they would have to comply with Schedule 5 requirements. Similarly, applicants applying for a skill visa have to comply with the points test currently listed in Schedule 6D. And applicants for certain business innovation or investment visas have to comply with the points test in Schedule 7A. All visa applicants have to meet the good health requirement. This usually means having an authorized panel doctor examine you and undertaking the X-ray examination. This is Public Interest Criteria 4005 and 4007 requirements. But for visitors coming to Australia for short periods, a declaration that they have good health will be accepted at face value that the applicant has good health. In assessing the character requirement, there are two aspects that have to be met. One is the penal or police clearance to show if there are any convictions against the applicant, and if so, what they may be. This is Public Interest Criteria 4001. The other is the security checks that have to be undertaken by ASIO to show that there are no security concerns against the applicant. This is Public Interest Criteria 4002. If the applicant meets all these three broad requirements that you see on the screen, then the visa will be granted to the applicant. These three requirements are generic requirements that are applicable to all visas. They are therefore important to remember and will stand you in good stead for the rest of the course.